Hi everybody, I have the third and final winter-inspired finger puppet tutorial to share with you today. So let's get started. I'm using a finger puppet base, wool yarn, and wool felt from a childsdream.com, but you can certainly pick this up from any local craft store. And I'm going to start off by braiding some yarn into some really long braids for this finger puppet. What I'm doing differently for this one is I'm doing one really long braid, and then I'm going to tie off both ends with some embroidery thread, and then I'm going to cut the braid in half and tie it off again with some embroidery thread, so that I'm just braiding once but I'm getting two braids. To be honest, I don't think that this saved me any time, and in fact while I was braiding, the lower part of the yarn kept twisting, kind of getting, tied up into its own knots. And so really, if you were doing this, I would just suggest to do two small braids so that the yarn doesn't get tangled as you're braiding it. So I just want to make sure that they're both the right length, and now I can put on some bangs, and I am putting some yarn all around the back of her head, because I'm going to put a little scarf on her head, and there's going to be little spots where you can kind of see the back of the head, so I just want that covered with some of the yarn. So I've got kind of a small piece of felt there. It's just barely big enough. I really should just cut a larger piece, but I'm going to fuss with this, and I'm going to just cover up the back as much as I can, and also make sure that the yarn is just covering the back of the finger puppet head. So I just took little remnant pieces of yarn that I had after I had made the braids, and it was just what was on my desk, and then that way she doesn't have any bald spots on the back. And so I did have to fuss with this a little bit more than usual because I was using a piece of felt that was just a little bit too small, but I thought that I could make it work. So I'm leaving this in here to show you that it doesn't always come together super easily. Sometimes you do have to kind of work with it a little bit. But in general, I think these projects are really great for kids anywhere from about age 8 or 9 on up. So my 9-year-old son has made a variety of these, and he's gotten pretty good at it. When my kids were younger, I should show you guys pictures. They did not look that pretty. They didn't really have a clue as to what they were doing, but once I started making these tutorials, they were actually able to watch the videos that I made, and then they were able to make their own a lot better. So that's been a perk that I was not expecting. Okay, so as I have been rambling away here, I have trimmed a piece of green felt for the tunic or the dress of this finger puppet. Now, my daughter had requested this this color. For some reason, that little piece of green felt, it's a very beautiful piece, but it had just been amongst other supplies, and so we had completely passed it up for a whole probably 20 finger puppets. We just didn't even see it at all. So when she saw it, she definitely wanted it, because at this point my stash of felt has dwindled so that I just have barely little pieces left. And so I've had to dip into this beautiful gray felt in a really large piece that's 18 inches by 18 inches. And I usually use those larger pieces for other projects, but I was so low on felt that I decided to use them for my finger puppets. And the gray did not come in the whole set of 20 colors. I got about 20 colors that were 12 by 12 inch squares, and there wasn't any gray or dark gray in any of them. So I've been really enjoying, that was my daughter and me fighting over those gems, but I've been really enjoying making finger puppets with this gray. I don't know, they just feel really wintry, and I guess it's just a departure from what I usually have for my finger puppets. They're mostly in the primary colors and colors of the rainbow, so I'm really enjoying these a lot, especially that green. It's kind of a sagey light green. I'm not describing it well, but anyway. Okay, so again, I've rambled away. I've got my daughter on the side telling me what to do as usual, and and I've just adhered these little gems with some hot glue. It does come with adhesive, but it's really important that you use hot glue with this, otherwise the adhesive, it'll just pop off. I mean, it's not on paper, it's on fabric, and so it will lose its stickiness and pop right off, so definitely use hot glue with that. Okay, so I've given her what I have dubbed the superhero cape, but I decided to make it a little bit different this time, and instead of leaving the flaps open, I'm going to glue them again, kind of glue them almost shut. And at this point I think, well, it would be great if I could actually tie them shut. So I'm using some embroidery thread that I have doubled. Usually when I'm embroidering I just use one length, but here I have made it so that you've got two lengths. And if you're sewing, you totally understand this, and I'm probably not even using the right terminology, but I went ahead and knotted it and made a tiny little bow. There was hardly enough embroidery thread to do this, but I was able to manage to make a bow, but I couldn't double knot it. I didn't want it to come undone because it would be such a hassle to redo and to rethread. So I decided to put just a tiny, tiny dollop of glue right there, and it was enough to just keep it bound together. So I really, really like the way this finger puppet turned out, and though it's the third in this series, it was actually the first one that I made, and it inspired the other ones in this winter-inspired finger puppet like set. So I hope that you enjoyed this one. I had a great time making it. I really like the way it turned out. I like that it's a little bit different than the ones that I normally make, and I hope that you guys have a good time making these too. If you want to catch up on the whole playlist of our winter-inspired finger puppets, you can click here for that playlist. And if you would like to see our weather-inspired finger puppets, or the weather gnomes as I call them, you can click here for that complete playlist. There are 6 weather finger puppets, and if you'd like to see how we did the lettering for that wood plate, you can click here for that tutorial, and I will add the links to those videos in the description below in case you're on a mobile device. And if you want to see more pictures, you can always check out my website at pepperandpine.com. Thanks for watching.